Good morning. A year into his first term, Governor Lamont found himself in a unique position, guiding the state through the COVID crisis. He received a lot of accolades for that and went on to win a second term in office. Now he's hoping to win a third term, announcing his bid for re-election in mid-November. Governor Lamont joins me today in Studio A. Governor, thanks for being with us.
Nice to see you, Eric.
When you announced your bid for a third term, you said the job's not done. What do you mean by that?
We came into office 7 years ago. We're looking at $2 billion deficits as far as the eye could see. We had the right size the ship. We got that done. We balanced the budget. We were able to cut taxes, pay down pension. But we still have to make key investments to bring down the cost of living in this state. Number one is health care. Those costs are going like this in Connecticut and 49 other states. So working with Sean Scanlon, we're going to create the Connecticut option, a preferred network. They'll give you a lot more value for health care. We just passed a housing bill. If you care about affordability, you got to bring down the cost of housing, mainly in our cities. And there we're building more housing than ever before. I'm going to see that over the finish line, bring down costs, make it a place where young people can call home.
You talked about in your announcement that you earned the right to pursue some bold initiatives with the first 2 terms in office. You mentioned healthcare, you mentioned housing. Are there other specific examples you can give people of things that geez, I've been wanting to do this, but now I need some more time?
We're rebuilding this state. Our cities were shrinking for 50 years. Now they're expanding. Like I said, more housing, more young people. Our transportation system slowed down for 50, 60 years. Now we're beginning to speed it up again. These are all things that make Connecticut well positioned for the 21st century. That's what I got to do. Keep this economy growing, make sure we have opportunity for people. That's why they want to be here.
I want to ask you about some of the opponents you'll be facing. One is an opponent within your own party, and I wonder both your reaction to that, but also, is there a majority of Democrats in the General Assembly that makes it almost difficult for you to govern?
It's tricky, no question about it, but you're right. I'm being challenged from the left in my own party, I'm being challenged, from the right or far right in the Republican Party, and I kind of like where I am. I think people know who I am. It's been 7 years. We've gotten to know each other pretty well. They know where I stand. I think they know I'm fighting for them every day. Now,
the first 2 candidates to announce on the Republican side, former New Britain Mayor Aaron Stewart, Ryan Fazio as well, state senator, they've both obviously, facing you in this election, have taken shots at your work that you've done while in office. Do you have any response to any of those things? The mayor saying, former Mayor Stewart saying you're out of touch, Ryan Fazio talking about the growth that Connecticut has seen during your first 2 terms. He cited a Bureau of Economic Analysis number saying we were only behind Hawaii in economic growth. What do you make of their attacks?
That's just not true. Stop, bad-mouthing the state of Connecticut. We're in the top 10 in terms of economic growth. Our unemployment rate is below the national average. That's not where we were 8 years ago or 18 years ago. So we're making progress. Can we do better? I'm happy to, listen to folks for good, constructive ideas. Don't make things up.
Also this week, Betsy McCoy from Fairfield County jumping into the race as a possible Republican opponent. Any reaction to that?
Jump in. The water's fine. They'll all be fighting for Donald Trump's endorsement, and I get to just take care of what I do as governor.
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump. Just this past week, there was news that he had cut some $2 billion in mental health and substance abuse money. The next day, it was reinstated. With a lot of things coming and going like that, as we just saw this past week, how have you been handling reactions to Washington? Do you wait and see? Do you move quickly? What do you do when the news changes day to day like that?
Look, he cut the mental health, and then he said 12 hours later reinstated it. In the meantime, we had probably 50 not-for-profits saying we're going to go bankrupt. Before that, it was SNAP. It was on, it was off. These are food supports. We had hundreds of people lined up, desperate for food. This on again, off again, herky-jerky is just terrible for economic growth, for people's mental stability. Business hates it. It's a terribly anti-business administration when it comes to, we like consistency, credibility. We want to know what our state, what our country is going to look like in 5 years. That's how you make investments and keep the economy growing. He's doing just the opposite.
You mentioned the housing bill earlier as something that you wanted to build upon and expand upon. You got a lot of criticism from that. A lot of people saying that housing bill, when you the first passed through, you vetoed it. When you signed the second version, you took away a lot of local control. How, when you're on the campaign trail, you're going to respond to that? We had Jason Rojas on the show a few weeks ago. He said, absolutely not. That's not what it does. But you know you're going to hear that from people as you travel the state. You took away our local zoning control over these projects. How do you explain it to them?
Ask the Republican mayors. Ask the Republican mayors who were standing next to me when we did our revised housing bill. They said, thank you. You're going to work with us. This is towns take the lead. You're going to tell us, Rocky Hill, where you want your housing to go. You tell us. You take the lead, and we'll be there as your partner. You're right. The legislature is a lot more ideological. I didn't get any Republican support in the legislature. That's the nature of the beast. Republican mayors stood with us in many cases.
As the incumbent, of course, you have the advantage of the name recognition. You also have a record to run on, and you've talked about a lot of the things in that record. The other thing that an incumbent deals with is that the record is ongoing. And a Department of Labor analyst wrote in the Connecticut Business Journal this past week that he believes that we may see an economic slowdown in 2026. Are you concerned as we flip the page to this new year that some of the numbers may slow down in Connecticut and that could hurt your reelection bid?
I think Connecticut is better prepared for a slowdown than just about any state in the country. Everybody wants to burn through the rainy day fund. We got over $4 billion set aside. I remember what happened in 08, 09 when there was an economic slowdown and they raised taxes and cut municipal aid and education funding. I'm not going to let that happen again. Nobody looks for a slowdown, but we've had 7 years of pretty good prosperity. I'm the one who's cautious to make sure we got the position to get us through that, and our most vulnerable people are held harmless.
And just one last thing I want to ask you about as we get ready for a new legislative session. Of course, there's going to be lots of proposals coming up, but two things that you've talked about in the past are tax reforms, both property taxes and then income taxes. Relief, reforms, changes. Are there anything there? Because that's something that a lot of our viewers, they can feel that. They can feel if their car tax bill is different, their homeowner's property tax bill, or even just taxes, the income taxes they pay. Anything you can preview for us on that front that you may be proposing here as we wrap up this term?
Well, remember, every 4 years, Republicans run saying they're going to eliminate the income tax. We're the first governor ever actually to cut the income tax. We cut it for middle-class people. One more way, we're trying to make life a little more affordable for people. I think you look at this next session, it's the second half of a 2-year budget. You're not going to see a lot of big tax proposals. What we are going to do is make sure that we can manage through the Trump cuts. And a lot of those cuts have come through. So we're about the only state in the country that can hold you harmless on your health care premiums jacking up, which is happening in 49 other states. We have more people in the exchange than we had before, not less. And remember, on the SNAP benefits, like I said, we're doing our best to hold people harmless during these turbulent times.
We made it through 7 minutes. Your voice held out, Governor. So we appreciate you getting through with a little bit of hoarseness this morning. And as we move into the campaign, we hope you'll come back and talk with us again. Governor Ned Lamont, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Eric. Good to see you.